So everyone thinks that the breakfast is very essential meal of the day. Suppose if you skip breakfast, your metabolism goes slow, and even some people think that you cannot be active. Breakfast is the must. Even if you skip dinner, you should have heavy breakfast. This is a common perception in the people. So actually, that's wrong. Breakfast is not an essential meal of the day. And the fact is, if you don't eat a nutritious, a protein and fiber rich breakfast, it can be a dangerous meal of the day also. For example, people now, why the breakfast term came? The breakfast means breaking the fast. That's why we call it as breakfast. Because in the 16th century, there was no access to electricity. People used to usually finish their last meal by 6 o'clock, and whole night there was a fast, and next day around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, they used to have a late breakfast or a brunch. That's why it's called as breaking the fast, breakfast. But what happened to our lifestyle today? Because of the TV, electricity, so many busy working, traveling and all, most people have their dinner at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and next day they're in a hurry to go to work or office. They have their breakfast at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Where is the time when you have a dinner at 9 o'clock and again you have a breakfast at next day 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock? They hardly eat a gap of 12 hours. If you're eating within 12 hours, you're not breaking any fast. Obviously, having a late dinner and early breakfast, you're not even observing a 12-hour simple fast. It can make a metabolism derangements in the metabolism. This one, it can lead to metabolic syndrome, metabolic dysfunction. So the message is, suppose somebody is taking some tablet for diabetes and other medical problems, and if you're really hungry, they can have a breakfast. It doesn't mean that everyone has to skip the breakfast. They can have a breakfast, but make sure that have a breakfast rich in fiber and protein. So what happened to our routine breakfast today? They take a typical Indian breakfast, idli, dosa, upma, poha, parathas, or a sandwiches. All these contain 80 to 90% carbohydrates. In an average 70 kg person need at least 70 grams of protein. But that means in a 75 kg person, 75 grams protein, at least in every meal, a person need at least 25 grams of protein. If you take any of these Indian breakfasts, standard Indian breakfast, that doesn't even contain 5 grams of protein. Ultimately, people are eating a carbohydrate rich, that too refined carbohydrate rich breakfast, which will spike your sugars, which will spike your insulin, and it is not good for diabetes and not good for your metabolic health. If you're hungry, if you want to have a breakfast, eat a breakfast rich in fiber and protein. Otherwise, if you are not hungry, just because there is a breakfast time, you need not have a breakfast. You can delay the breakfast up to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or you can skip the breakfast and have a lunch. In people who are practicing intermittent fasting, so there they fast up to 56 hours. So you have to have a dinner at 8 o'clock. So they can easily postpone their breakfast up to 12 o'clock, or they can skip the breakfast and directly have a lunch. So skipping breakfast is absolutely healthy. It improves your metabolism. And there is a book called The Breakfast, the Dangerous Meal of the Day, written by Professor Terence Healy. He himself diagnosed as a diabetes, and he observed his blood sugar levels and made a lot of research on this. He observed that whenever you skip a breakfast, your sugars level were constant, and whenever you have a typical breakfast with the high carbs, your sugar level used to spike. And there's a lot of research very quoted. This breakfast as important meal of the day, it's a marketing strategy by a cereal companies and a Kellogg's to promote their products. Breakfast is not an essential meal of the day. You can skip breakfast if you're not hungry. And if you want to eat a breakfast, make sure that you always eat a breakfast rich in a protein and fiber. That's it.